Hello. Thank you for joining MentalShift. My name is Michelle Moroz. You waved and messed me up. Michelle Moroz, and I am the host. Now, what is MentalShift? MentalShift has evolved from my radio days when I was at KCMJ 93.9. And what happened is I used to have conversations with people, and it always ended up that they had some mental shift in their life that shifted them into a whole new world of awareness of what they're doing and giving back to the world. And I thought, you know what? To have a bigger reach, we'll have those same people come on and expand that reach around the world and have a podcast instead, because there are so many people in the world who are looking at the things that they could have done, would have done, all the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and went, you know what? I'm going to stop here. And what I want to do, and what we do on the Mental Shift, is bring people onto the show to prove to you that you can too. So please welcome today. He is quite the dynamo. I jumped on one of his mastermind courses with his partner in crime, Kevin, and they're called the Hyper Conscious Podcast. So thehyperconsciouspodcast.com is how you can find him. And I'd like to please welcome this amazing human being. His name is Alan Lazaros. Welcome, Alan.
What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. I'm going to bring the energy and I'm going to bring the insights, and I'm excited.
I'm excited for you, because I'm excited for everybody on this who listens to my podcast and beyond, because I got on your mastermind and I had no idea what to expect. I heard hyper conscious podcast and I went, okay, that already sounds like me. And then to be in that mastermind, to have people so aware and so quick. What really hit me is you shared a PowerPoint and you showed a picture of you and Kevin in like college, and you're sitting around drinking and wasting your life away, enjoying your youth, and that you had a shift in your life and now you are who you are, and you're healthy, you're fit, you've got this mindset of I can and I will, and I'll drag as many people with me as possible.
Yeah.
What happened that brought you from your party days to now? Because it's a very short time period. What happened in your world that gave you that mental shift?
Right. So first of all, I love the idea of a mental shift. And I think that the place to start is when I first, it's easy to connect the dots looking backward. And so I'll kind of give you the shortest version I can, but it will be a little bit in depth. So when I first was born, I often say that I lost something very near and dear to my heart, but I also gained something else. So for those of you who don't know me, my father passed away in a car accident when I was 2 years old. He was 28 years old. And so I grew up without a father, but I did grow up with two mothers. So I have my mom, and then I have my sister, my older sister. She's 2.5 years older than me, and she always protected me, took care of me, and she's always been there for me. Fast forward through childhood, my mom always kind of tried to explain things to me in a way that I would understand them. And what's interesting is me and my sister still talk about this today, because we didn't get punished, we got lectured. And so we hated it at the time, okay? But it's similar to like her trying to get me to get braces. She's like, you'll thank me one day. And she was right. I have since thanked her for the beautiful smile that I now have. But at the time I hated it. Okay, so my mom, instead of just punishing us, she always wanted us to know why we were being punished. What is the understanding underneath the discipline? And so she would lecture us, and she always tried to explain things to me. And there's this one thing she said to me that always stuck with me, which was very simple but very profound. She said, Alan, life is about choices. You can be a CEO or you can be a farmer. I'm going to love you no matter what. But if you are a farmer and then you wake up one day and decide to be a CEO, you can't just snap your fingers and suddenly decide to be a CEO. So she said, aim high, because if you do that, you'll have choices. And she was absolutely right, especially from an intellectual scenario. I once said this story, and a farmer got upset with me. My mom was just trying to explain it to me because I'm a kid, right? There's nothing against farmers. Some farmers can be very wealthy. It is what it is. But I just want to make that little thing clear, because one time it was like, oh, my aunt's a farmer, and like they work so hard, and I didn't mean anything against that. But the point is this: she taught me that life was about choices from a very young age. Now, fast forward, I think I'm like 8, 9, or 10. I forget exactly, but we're driving past WPI. WPI is a school in Massachusetts, in Worcester, Massachusetts, called Worcester Polytechnic Institute. And my uncle at the time, Uncle Merle, it's actually funny because since then, the he was the track and field coach there. And the track and field is actually still to this day, it's called Norcross Field. My uncle Merle Norcross, he has since passed away, unfortunately, but he was the track and field coach there. And what my mom said is, you're really smart. You're really good at math. Life is about choices. Aim high. If you go to WPI, really smart people go there. You should go there one day. Now, I'm just a little kid, and little did I know, now I know she was planting a seed of success in me from a very young age. So fast forward to 8th grade. Now, 8th grade is right before entering high school. She actually gave me the choice to take 8th grade off. Up to this point, I was a straight A student. I was very, very academically inclined, especially in mathematics and science and stuff like that. So she said, if I allow you to take 8th grade off and I trust you to just have fun in 8th grade, you need to promise me that you'll get the President's Award in high school. Now, in high school, the President's Award means you never get below a 95 GPA. In other words, an A average for any report card ever. So if you look at my academic career, you'd see all A's in 8th grade, C's, D's, and B's. And then in 9th grade through 12th grade, which is all of high school, I never got below a 95 GPA, never once. I think I got 1 B plus one time, and it was in honors English, and then I didn't take honors English again, which is a whole nother story. But the point is this, there we are doing my college essay late at night. It's like 1 a.m. My mom's helping me get into WPI, and I got in. I go to WPI. I'm an electrical and computer engineer, and I actually failed my first electrical and computer engineering course. But then I persevered through that. I was like, I'm going to do this. I get my electrical and computer engineering degree. And for anyone who doesn't have an engineering degree, it was brutal. It was like the hardest thing, one of the hardest things I've ever done. And so I get out of that. I go into engineering internships. I worked for like iRobot, Tyco Safety Products, a bunch of different companies, Oz Development, stuff like that. I realized very quickly that I love people and that sitting behind a desk was not for me. I go back for my MBA. I get my MBA, then I go out into the corporate world, and I'm getting to the mental shift moment. So now I'm in the corporate world, and I do a lot of soul searching, a lot of job hopping. Now, keep in mind at this point too, I did do some partying in high school, and then I was in a fraternity. I did a lot of partying in college. Now, I focused on academics, but I also had a lot of fun. Okay. Now, I started eventually job hopping a bunch. I went from, again, the numbers don't really matter, but they say money doesn't buy happiness. I think money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy choices. Yeah. And if you make the right choices, you can buy fulfillment, happiness, joy, things like that. So I'm in corporate America. I'm working for a company called Cognex. Their motto is work hard, play hard. I used to say work hard, play harder. I'm in sales. I'm selling industrial automation equipment. I go into these manufacturing facilities and I see on the walls these pictures of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s with a factory full of workers. And now I'm sitting there talking to the factory floor manager, realizing that now it's all automation. It's all robots. So Cognex sold industrial automation equipment that basically took jobs. And this is nothing against Cognex. Cognex is a wonderful company. They help us basically picture like 100 water bottles going down a line. We make sure the cap is on straight. We sell the cameras that make sure every product is identical. And they used to have people like picking them up and looking at them. And so the better I did selling automation equipment, the less jobs there were for less educated people. And so I saw this problem in the world. I saw technology, which I understood at a deep level, going to a technical institution, growing exponentially. And then I saw the jobs needed for less educated people going away exponentially. And here's the other interesting statistic, and I hope no one gets offended by this. The less educated population tends to have kids younger, and they tend to have more kids statistically. Now, if you look at the math of that, jobs, service, so if you go into a Panera in this country, for example, it's kiosks. And by the way, COVID has accelerated this because all business owners are trying to figure out how to do more with less because they have to, and they're learning how to automate. So they're automating very quickly, and they're investing in automation. So the jobs, I honestly look at the future, and I see Panera never having employees behind the counter. I worked at iRobot. Robots are coming. Automation is coming. Okay, I didn't make this up. It is what it is. But here's the problem. It was eating me alive a little bit because I went from 65 to 85 to 120 to 180. In 2014, I made nearly $200,000, and I'm 22 at the time, and I'm not fulfilled. And I achieved everything I thought I wanted, and I'm not happy. I drank too much and too often. I had tons of friendships and tons of acquaintances, and that was just growing and growing and growing. But like on the inside, I wasn't really fulfilled. So 26 years old, and here's the mental shift. I'm in New Hampshire with my little cousin. He's 17. We're driving a 2004 Volkswagen Passat to TGI Fridays. It's a dark winter night. It's cold. And like, it was one of those really bad winters where snow was all the way up. Plus, this is New Hampshire, so you can't really see the signs. There was supposed to be a yield sign, and there wasn't apparently at this intersection, which I actually thought later. But I thought the road stayed right. It actually stayed left. I ended up on the wrong side of the road, entirely my fault. I was looking down at the GPS. I look up and I see this car with a lift-kitted truck. It's not a car, it's a truck. And the brightest lights I'd ever seen. In this moment, I genuinely, wholeheartedly thought that would be it. And very, very fortunately, I drove, like I said, the Volkswagen Passat, which I used to call the tank. It was a very heavy 2004, like older car, German engineered car. And I used to call it the tank. So both airbags deployed. I hurt my face quite a bit. My cousin hurt his knee. But generally speaking, we were okay. In my speeches, I actually show the car. The car was mangled. It was completely totaled. But we were okay, fortunately. But circle back, right? My father passed away when I was 2 in a car accident. He was 28. Now, I've seen the pictures of his car. They don't look that different than the picture of my car. And so I'm sitting there going, I'm 26 at the time, and I'm like, some people have this intellectual understanding of life and death. For me, it's never been intellectual. It's always been emotional because I grew up hearing stories about my dad, and I look just like him, and some of my mannerisms are just like him, and, nature versus nurture, that's a whole thing. But this messed me up. My little cousin's 17. He's still got the invincibility complex. He's tweeting about it like it's no big deal to him. For me, I'm sitting there drinking whiskey in an armchair, questioning everything. And I had all this regret, like so much regret. I was asking myself the tough questions. Did I fight courageously for what I believe in? Did I love openly and fiercely? Am I proud of the man I've become? And what's interesting is now I say this quote that's very simple but very profound. And it's, you can't see the stars during the day. They're always there, but sometimes it takes the darkness to see clearly that which you simply could not within the light. For me, that was my darkest moment. Yeah. And what I saw was a shining star, 2 things in particular. I found Tony Robbins' TED Talk, which was on the 6 human needs. It's my favorite TED Talk of all time. I highly recommend everyone checks that out. It's about the 6 human needs and how to realign your life with fulfillment and growth and contribution. Second thing I found, a book by Bronnie Ware. She's an Australian woman. It's called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. To this moment, I have a flashcard in my pocket in this moment with all 5 regrets. Number 1 regret of the dying is I wish I had lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard on the wrong things. Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my true feelings. That's a big one. Number 4, I wish I stayed in touch with my friends. And then number 5, I wish I let myself be happier. Now, I since have interviewed Bronnie Ware, which is really, really cool. She's came on episode 180 of the podcast 4 years later, by the way. And I got to ask her some questions about her work. But for me, that's when the mental shift happened of like, listen, you'll never get to hell yes until you get to hell no. I was so deep into hell no. And this is what I tell people now. Life is about choices, conscious choices, hyper-conscious choices. Become acutely aware of the choices you are making or the choices you're not making because you're on the fence. No growth happens on the fence. The fence is a protection mechanism. I don't want to try because then I might feel bad. I'm telling you, you're not going to regret trying and failing. You're going to regret not trying at all. So what I do now is a journaling habit. Every single day, I reverse engineer regret. And it's actually really cool. So Kevin had this idea. He said, why don't you do this every single day? So I wish I had lived the life true to myself. Now I give myself a rating from 0 to 10. And then I give myself corrective action. So every day I'm making sure that I'm living a life true to myself, that I'm expressing my true feelings, that I'm staying in touch with my friends, that I'm letting myself be happier, and that I'm not working hard on the wrong things. And so that's really the turning point in my life where I went all in on my dreams. I decided I'm going to be a National Aesthetic Men's Physique athlete. I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to be a podcaster. I'm going to be Tony Robbins inspired me. Who he was inspired me. And I had heroes. I had The Rock. I had Jim Rohn. I had Tony Robbins. And I just went all in. And here I am 5.5 years later, at 31 years old. And it's very cool that you saw this version of me, but you didn't get to see the version of me that was in all that pain. And I still have challenging moments, don't get me wrong, but what I do about them is set a higher standard for myself, set a higher standard for who I want to become and who I want to serve. And I've never really looked back since.
Okay, everyone. Now you know why I had Alan on the show. That's why I asked him, because we actually have very similar stories, but my mental shift happened late in my 40s. I'm 51 now. And so in 2014, I was in a car accident. And but unlike you, I was not in a Passat that was a tank. I was in a car that crushed, and it crushed me. So I was unable to move, walk, or talk, write, anything for 18 months. I turned into a vegetable. And in that 18 months of being a vegetable, I assessed my life. I couldn't communicate, but inside of my head, I was completely cognizant. Just no one understood me. And in my mind, I wrote a book. I was reassessing my life. I was asking myself questions and answering them, and realized that I had wasted 40 something years of my life thinking I needed to be someone else, and I was never happy. And so when I came out of that, I said, go big or go home. There is no more trying. I either do or I do not. I embrace my inner Yoda. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to embrace my toddler. The toddler in me believed in, I was going to be an astronaut and a doctor, and I had all these things I wanted to do, and I was going to be a Broadway singer. And somewhere in my teens, I just let it all go. And as a mother, and my kids were in high school, and I'm like, where did the years go? I wasted all those years. And I went full force. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And with me, my inspirations were John Maxwell, because when I came out of my basic coma, I had a lot of John Maxwell books. I didn't remember him, but I
got a bunch.
Yeah.
I love John Maxwell.
But see, so apparently I was reading him a lot, but I lost years of my life. So I don't remember a lot of people from my childhood or anything, but they're very specific things that I do remember, and that's okay, which means I was supposed to learn a lesson. I'm supposed to bring them with me. And so I write about them. And then Byron Katie. Oh my gosh, I love Byron Katie. Have you heard of Byron Katie?
Mm-mm.
Look up Byron Katie, The Work, because when I was locked in my head, there was a lot of inner critic work going on in there where people, your voice is like, you're not good enough. What makes you think you are? And the work walks you through 5 questions. And it's, why do you, what is that? How do you feel when you feel that? How would you be without that? I mean, it just asks you quick questions, and it kind of runs you through your inner critic work very quickly. Those are the main questions, but there are a heck of a lot more. Look up Byron Katie, The Work. If you're listening, Byron Katie, The Work. If you have anything in your mind that tells you you cannot, or why do you think, or what makes you think you are, work through those questions and you will plow through anything. I am not the woman I was before 2014. I'm an enhanced version of me. I walk in the power and in the belief of who I am and who I am capable of being. And so what I am is I walk in who I want to be, and I am. And that's the kind of people that will draw to you. The future you is already drawing now. And so I love that you had the same kind of mental shift, because when you see a very large metal object coming in at your face, it's a big wake-up call of, whoa, I could have been beheaded. I mean, there's so many things that could have went wrong, and that I walked away is a miracle in itself.
Miracle.
And then after that, 6 months later, I found out I had breast cancer and given 3 months to live. So not only was my mind very special to me, then I had to realize that my body had to be optimized. So like with you, I saw that body shift in you. My body has shifted. And don't lose your mind about this, but if you look at my TEDx, I was 389 pounds.
What?
Yeah. So in 2015, I was 389 pounds. I don't remember getting to that weight. I used to be a bodybuilder. I don't remember getting to that.
Wow.
But now I'm back to the old me. So I'm pretty fit, gained a ton, and then came right back. So for people out there who say, you're over 40, forget it. You're just going to gain the weight now because it's just who you are. That's complete BS.
BS.
It's BS. Don't listen to that. You are who you want to be. If you want to succumb to what the world wants you to be, the world says, yeah, as you wish. But if you refuse to, follow into that treadmill of what everyone else is doing and you want more, you must make a conscious decision to do so. You must be very intentional in what you do and everything you do. And so like you're looking at Alan and I and you're doing, man, those people kind of have things together. I wish I could be like them. Yes, you can. We're
You
not
can.
special.
Yeah.
We just made a decision and we have very built-in habits into what we do every day. Every day I meditate. Every day we journal. Every day I write down what did I do, what I could have done better, and what do I want to do with that next time? How am I going to improve it? We analyze ourselves. And what I learned from Alan and Kevin on their mastermind every Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, by the way, connect with them on the hyperconsciouspodcast.com because they have some amazing conversations. And what I learned from them watching and listening to them is they had the same conscious decision. I don't want this. I want this. What do I need to get to that? I must do this, to this, to this, to this. It's very disciplined. No, just because we're disciplined doesn't mean we're sitting at a bookstore staring at a book and never moving. No, we love our lives. And if you watch them, you watch me, watch anybody, Tony Robbins, you name all these people who are just living life to the fullest. It's because we choose to, and we put it in our day to even have it. We know how to turn off. We know work hard, play harder. Okay, I'm going to play this week. Everything's off. I'm playing. And that's the secret to life. It's not just willy-nilly, just waiting for something to happen next. It's making a plan and bringing it to fruition. It can be done. And we are proof positive that it can. And that's why I wanted Alan on the show, because he has had a body shift, a mental shift, a life shift, a career shift. And what you don't know is my background's in engineering too.
Is it?
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm an industrial engineer. And I went to the University of Nebraska, and I was sitting in the cubicle doing, I really want to talk to people. This is not me.
Right.
But what's so amazing about engineering is that I use it still with people. The structures of people and how they think and the variances and how they work on things. My math still works. I just converted it to people. And so when people meet us and they're like, you're an engineer, but you say you're a people person? Yes, because we're all structures and our lives are structures. And that's how I see it all. I see the big picture and I see you do too. And that's why I was excited to have you on, because you're awesome. It's so rare to meet the future Tony Robbins is what I see you as. And
very sweet.
You're the next generation of him. Well, I also say I'm the Blasian Oprah. I'm coming up.
I knew you were gonna say that. I love it. Good. And I systems thinking. It never leaves you. And you know, this body we have, I believe we're spiritual beings, but we have a system. And if you don't know how the system works, you don't know how to tweak it. And so engineering I still use every day. I agree 100%.
Every day. And so what I also found with the whole spiritual awakening of being locked in my body and not being able to do anything about it was your body's constantly telling you things. It's constantly saying, I don't like this. Oh, I like this. I'm afraid. It's always talking, and you need to listen. And what I found in my 51 years of life now is the thing that scares me is where I'm supposed to go. It scares me because I don't want to fail. And that's why it's scary. So if you're doing something and it's scaring you, do it. Go that way. Because if it's not going to kill you, do it. And what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to learn a really good lesson. What's the best that's going to happen? You're going to open a door that you never even thought could possibly exist. So do it. There's no failing. There's just learning. Oh, wow. No, I've been excited ever since I saw you on that mastermind class. I'm like,
I love it. I couldn't agree more. It's you're inspiring me right now. I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah.
And there's so many people who are like, well, you know, Alan's young and Michelle's older. Yes, exactly. And we both had our mental shifts at different times of our lives, and they're working. So no matter where you are in your life, no matter what you've experienced, no matter what terrible thing that's happened in your life, find the light in it, find the lesson, and know that you can change with your awareness now.
Right.
Make the best version of you is what I always say. Be the best version of you.
Every moment, as much as you possibly can.
I heard you say that on the mastermind. I'm like, he says the same thing I say.
I love it.
But Alan, I know you and Kevin are partners in crime and all, but what I wanted to ask more about is what message do you want to share with mostly my audience right now, and then of course you'll be sharing with yours, but what message do you want to capsulate and share, because you are on the same mission as I am, but you are tackling it in the most amazingly beautiful way that I love. And what is that message you want to share, that broad message?
I'm glad you asked me that question. So I'm often thinking to myself constantly, like, what could I say that would really do it? The message I want to share is I grew up, like I said, with more than an intellectual understanding of death. Right now, if you're out there listening, maybe you've lost a loved one, maybe you've lost a pet, maybe you've almost lost your own life in some regard. Maybe you've had suicidal thoughts, maybe you've been close to that end of this life. I will tell you that what happened to you and to me that created the mental shift is something. We talk a lot about PTSD, which is a very real thing, and I know you probably had some. I certainly did. Double yellow lines scared me. I got claustrophobic. After my car accident, I went through a lot of stuff. But we don't talk enough about post-traumatic growth. So here's what I will tell you. Instead of having an intellectual understanding of life and death, try to have an emotional one. I grew up my whole life hearing about my dad. What I find most interesting, and this is the message I want to share, is that nobody talks about how he died. They talk about how he lived. He had 450 people at his funeral because they just loved him. They loved his sense of humor. He loved people. He lit up every room he was in. And I'm getting emotional even just talking about this. So this is the point. How you die is not going to matter. When you die is not going to matter. What's going to matter is how you chose to live. And so life is about choice. Emotional pain is a guarantee. What you do about it is not. You have a choice every time you're in emotional pain. You can either escape into a vice or develop a virtue. Unfortunately, prior to you and I's awakening or mental shift or whatever you want to call it, I bet you a lot of the times we were unconsciously choosing vices without knowing it. What is a vice? What is a virtue? A vice is anything that escapes the pain temporarily. A virtue is anything that uses the pain to drive you toward a brighter, more compelling future for yourself and others. The amount of times that you experience emotional pain and choose virtue over vice is, in my opinion, going to be the spiritual test that we all have at the end. And for me, alcohol is my vice. We all have one. I'm now 340 days sober, and I've only drank probably 3 times in the last 5 years. I've been trying to overcome that escape for a long time. In my childhood, I went through a lot of stuff, and I grew up in an environment where alcohol was common. Whatever you grew up around is your normal. That doesn't mean it is normal. And you can choose differently. But you have to decide and cut away from the old and embrace the new. And I'll tell you what, if you're into growth and you're into contribution and you're into becoming the best version of yourself and making sure you add value to others, you're going to have what's referred to as growing pains. Every time a snake sheds an old skin, it hurts. Every time, the hermit crab leaves its little shell for a bigger one, it hurts. Growing pains are going to create pain and challenge, and at times maybe even suffering. But here's what I do know. If you keep driving forward towards that better version, that vision you have of yourself for a greater end state, greater than yourself, there's no question you're going to not have regret. You have the choice right now, discipline today or regret tomorrow. When I wasn't choosing discipline and I was letting myself down. And here's the 2 questions that I believe we will all ask ourselves at the end. These are the 2 questions that jumped off the page for me. Number 1, how courageously did I fight for what I believe in? And number 2, how fiercely did I love? And now I'm going to be really grateful of answering those questions. Whereas at the time, I was not proud of those answers. So the only question is this: what are the questions you want to reverse engineer in your future that you want to be proud of the answers? And number two, where are you not showing up as your best self for the people you love? So that's the message.
Okay, I'm trying not to cry, but okay. That was beautiful. Okay, let me focus. One, I love your mother because that ingrained learning of why behind every situation was a huge factor on why you grew the way you do grow. That when you got into crisis mode, you were able to say, why do I do this? And step back. You were coaching yourself when you did that. The other thing is post-traumatic growth. Holy smokes, that was beautiful. I love that because what people don't understand is when they say, oh, I'm so sorry you have a brain injury. Oh, I'm so sorry you had cancer. I'm so sorry your father died. I'm so sorry. No, growth happens in pain. And sometimes we have to experience life in its worst in order to become our best or to be able to contribute our best. And those questions that you ask yourself, of that regret question, I tell my clients, one of the first things I do with my coaching clients is I want you to write your eulogy from points of view of different people in your family or in your life. So your best friend, your the one you love, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, whatever, your coworker, so that you can see that other people see the potential in you that you do not allow yourself to see. And what you do is you have to step into who you truly are. And that's where I see a lot of that pain in the world is people are unhappy and, drinking and smoking and taking drugs and everything because they're hiding from who they are. And if you can just step into who you truly are and not be afraid of it, be afraid, but step into it and embrace that fear and know that that pain is worth the other end. One, all the other things that you've been escaping in become irrelevant because you do. That's why I'm here. And then the other part is that you realize that you're part of that gigantic world mosaic puzzle. No, you're not that corner piece. No, you're not that piece, but you're a piece that without it, the world is incomplete. We must find our place in the world by stepping into who we are truly supposed to be and stop hiding from who we are and be the best versions of us. That quote, I'm going to have to write that down and keep it. Discipline today or regret tomorrow. It's how I live my life.
Same.
And I've never put it into words, and you just did. So yeah, I've got something else to put on my bulletin board. I've got lots of things on my bulletin board. And
I can't take credit for that quote.
Who's
that? Was Jim Rohn. You will have the pain.
That's why.
You will suffer one of two pains, either the discipline today or the regret tomorrow. Like, but the vice and virtue thing, that's mine.
Okay, vice and virtue. Okay, because
you don't get to. What's interesting is, truth is truth. I don't need ownership over any truth, and neither do you. So but I love because words have the way of the breakthrough. Like if you can say it in a certain way that can really get through to somebody, it can. And you're a speech coach, so I know you know this. But I'm grateful that hit home for you.
It really did, because here's the thing. I had the president of the John Maxwell Company, Paul Martinelli. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to speak, but I didn't want to speak because what if I didn't speak? And then all those thoughts in your head. And I was on a call one day, and he said, someone is waiting for your voice. Having been at many, many conferences, and the same thing is being said over and over again. And then you walk through the hallway and somebody randomly says, discipline today or regret tomorrow. You've heard Jim Rohn say it. You've read it 15 billion times. But for some reason, that particular person at that moment when you're ready, that voice, it was perfect. And so that's why I think when we share these kind of quotes and these ideas, feel free to share them, because it can come out of me. It goes right over the person's head. Could come out of Alan, right over the other person's head. Could come out of you, the listener, and you shift someone's life completely. So think of those things. Emotional pain is inevitable. You can either get a vice out of it or a virtue. It's a choice. Discipline today, regret tomorrow. And that remember that there is post-traumatic growth. Wow. You're just a bombshell. I love you dearly. Haven't met you, but I will meet you one day. Just kind of warning.
You will. I love it.
Yeah.
The conviction you say that with, I know it'll happen.
I kind of make things happen.
Good. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a true believer in seeing it and it just happens.
I love it.
Yeah, and like you envisioned your muscle body. Look up if you ever get him. He shows this pose, and it's like, dang, good job. But you saw it. You saw that you. Like with me at 389, I saw this me, and to step into that body and feel it every day and do okay, it's still kind of tight. Okay, no, now it's feeling kind of good. Well, here, well, I'm in, and it's a vision thing. And people are like, that's woo woo. No, it's fact. I mean, we learn in engineering, that opposites attract, that kind of thing. No, like attracts like. What your mind sees is what you go to.
I know.
And it shapes what you see. So, that's what I'm getting at, because I needed you on the call for it. When you look out to the world and you say, the world is in terrible times, or you say, these are trying times, or these are difficult times. Alan, what do you think about that?
I say these are challenging times. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. One thing I've had trouble reconciling, though. So there's one quote that I heard one time that I love, and I live by it. Adversity is your advantage. It helped you develop the emotional muscle to go do extraordinary things that ordinary people simply cannot do. Now, here's the thing. Some of the adversities that I grew up in, and I don't want to go into too much detail about them, but what I do find fascinating is that people see me now, and understandably, they really couldn't possibly understand what I grew up in, and some of the things that I've faced. And we all have our own journey, so that is what it is. But here's what I'll say. There's someone else very close to me who grew up in the same environment, who didn't choose virtue over vice as often as I did. And I always wondered why. We had the same capabilities. We had the same upbringing. What was different? What made the difference? And I figured it out, I think.
Really?
Self-belief. If you do not believe in your own brighter future, you will choose vice every time and not know why. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you're a young kid. You're 14 years old and something really traumatic happens. Maybe your parents get in a horrible fight and it's abusive and you witness it. You're in emotional pain. When the past was painful in a certain regard and the present is painful in a very certain regard, some people who have belief have no choice but to escape into the future and create that vision. I create my visions proactively now, but I got to admit to everybody, before that car accident, I wasn't creating my visions proactively. I was creating visions because I had to escape my present and my past. Because the present and the past for me in certain regards were unbelievably emotionally painful. I don't want to go into that, but what I do want to do is whatever traumas you've faced in your life, if you can set a new standard for your future inside the trauma, that's where real change happens. So let's say you're out there and you're really overweight. For me, it was alcohol. I use alcohol. The past was, I looked at the past and I went, okay, alcohol always caused me pain, not only in myself, but in those around me. Okay. The present was super painful. I'm super hungover. I got in a fight with my girlfriend and I'm not proud of how I treated her. And I'm sitting there in real emotional pain, shame, regret, all that. I believe in my own ability to change my future and to change myself. So therefore, what do unconsciously? I create a new standard in my future and then live up to that. I get pulled to that. The person I'm referring to who didn't have as much self-belief chose vice. In other words, if you don't believe you can change it, why would you even try? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want everyone to realize is you must have 3 beliefs. You must, if you want to create your own compelling future on your own terms. Here they are. Number 1, you must believe that it is possible. Number 2, you must believe that it is possible for you. No one's going to come and change your life for you. Number 3, and this is the hard one, you must believe unconditionally that it will be worth it, because this has been a lot of hard work. You're going to have to face fears you've never faced before. You're going to have to face traumas you've never looked at before. You're going to have to get rid of vices you've never gotten rid of before. And it's going to be so much hard work. And if you believe even in the slightest that it won't be worth it, you're not going to put in the work. And you see people like me or like her, you're seeing us at a snapshot in time. You're not seeing me when I was drinking alone in my room, 2 beers, and I thought I had the solution. 2 beers a day would do it. You're not seeing that version of me. You're seeing this version of me. Okay? If you can think back to that version of me who made those mistakes, but changed them, collapse the space-time continuum and realize that you can too, but you have to believe it first. Otherwise, it will never happen. And I've witnessed so many people in my life that know what to do, but still don't do it. We all have that loved one that we just desperately wish would take better care of themselves. You know that saying, that cliche, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink? Yeah. Here's what I say. You can lead a horse to water. No, you can't make them drink, but you can show them how delicious water is by drinking it yourself. Lead by example. Abraham Lincoln has this great quote, he says, and I understand why he says this, even though it's somewhat interesting. He says this: leading by example is not the best way to influence someone. It's the only way. Now, is it really the only way? No, of course not. But I understand his point, right? It's not just the message, it's the messenger. Who you are speaks louder than anything you say. Exactly. And so if you're out there right now and you don't believe in those 3 things, it's possible for me, and it'll be worth it. Check in there first, because every belief or lack thereof is up to you. And I don't want to see you suffer like I've seen other people suffer. Because if you want to change something, you can do it, but you have to decide and you have to believe.
We're going to mic drop there. Because I can keep you on and we'll just keep talking, and maybe just do a live and we'll just keep talking, because truth bomb left and right. You've got to believe. And I think that's why I like the whole Byron Katie thing was, when you say a statement, can you say that's true? Can you always say that's true? How do you feel when you say that statement? Then what would you be without that statement? And then go into the 3s of you believe that it's possible, believe it's possible for you, and to unconditionally know that it's worth it. They all go together, and it's all your choice. Alan, I am so glad that you decided to be on my podcast with me. I actually booked you twice, so I'm really glad you got on this early one. And I love you dearly, and I will. I'm tracking you and in your partner in crime, Kevin. And life is a journey. It is a roller coaster. It is scary, but it's life. And for those of us who have seen the scary side of it, it's okay. We've made it through, and so can you. There is called post-traumatic growth. It is worth it, and it is possible for you, and unconditionally worth it. Okay. And like he said, snapshot in time. If you look me up and look at my TED Talk, you're not going to see the same lady. I've had many people write me saying, I can't find your website. This is not you. My website is my name. I have changed that much, mentally, physically, emotionally, you name it. It's all happened, and it's happened with intention. So listen to these wise words from Alan. Please like, share, subscribe, whatever, but get this out, because I want all of you to go to www.thehyperconsciouspodcast.com. Get on those mastermind calls, because these 2 men are they're brilliant. They're very wise beyond their years. And I don't care what age you are. Okay. If you're 51 like me, and you're saying you want me to talk to Alan? Yes, because there is so much wisdom in the way he sees the world. And not to bash on those of us who are older than 50, sometimes we're stuck in our ways and we think we know what's right, when actually what happened is we are very ingrained in that record player groove that we were told when we were children, and it is time to break out of that groove and make a whole new record line, become a CD, okay? Just get out of that groove of that record and move out of vinyl and get onto this compact disc, because here's the thing, Alan and Kevin had such an amazing conversation Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. I got on their mastermind class. I'll join on another one, sure, as soon as I get the time, because they're brilliant. And even if there's just tidbits that you just need to hear every once in a while, get on the call, because your mind will be enlightened. I don't care what age you are. Break the mold of what you're in. Be aware of what's happening in your world. Become the best version of you, because it's stuck inside of you and you're miserable because you won't let it out. Go be the best version of you. And I'll stop preaching. I'll get off this, my high horse. Please follow on the Alan on the Hyper Conscious podcast. Get on that mastermind. Share this wisdom and brighten someone else's day. So until next time, everyone, thank you for joining us on Mental Shift. My name is Michelle Moras. Please like, subscribe, and follow on my YouTube, or just go to my website, michellemoras.com, and hit the links and get on them anyways. Have a great day, everyone. And until then, TTFN.
Talk to you soon.